Can I have your attention, please? Calling all new moms, seasoned moms, soon-to-be moms, and all you mamas in between. Welcome to the MomFriends podcast. Francis Fripp, welcome to MomFriends.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited you're here. And I think we've only met like literally 2 times, but I was like instantly good vibes, no judgment, like cool mom. So I was like, I have to reach out to this girl, and I'm so happy you wanted to come. So
yeah, I think the first time I met you, you were pregnant with Declan.
I think I was. Not very far.
No,
but I was
newly.
like, you gave me all the tips, and I was like, this girl, I need this girl in my life.
Yeah, so moms need help. Moms need help.
100%. Yeah. So usually I just start with like, who makes you a mom, how many kids you have, how old they are, and then if you are comfortable sharing their name, then you can.
Yeah, so my name is Francis Fripp, and I have 2 boys, Remy and Ferris, and Remy is 3.5, and Ferris is 2 months.
Oh my
So
goodness.
very new, yeah.
Yeah, boys. What's your favorite thing about boys?
Yes, yeah. You know, people say that boys are harder, and I never thought that there was a difference until I'm at dropping Remy off at preschool, and a girl mom or a girl dad will walk by, and they're like wearing a princess outfit and like doing perfect, and they have both their shoes on, and they're
The
fine.
shoes are so relatable.
Oh, yeah. And then I walk by and he's got no shoes on and, you know, thankfully clothed, but it's like a feral animal in comparison.
Is he crazy? Was he crazy?
You know, I didn't think he was. I thought he was like, you know, he seems like a pretty normal guy because you get kind of used to.
I guess you don't know any different.
Yeah, you get used to it. But I mean, and I have other friends who have boys too, and they all get together and they're having a lot of fun and they're crazy and having a good time. But
just energy.
Yeah, I feel like he's pretty good. He's not a defiant energy. He's more just wants to get into everything, and he's interested and he wants to know what everything does, and loves tractors. That kind of thing.
I love that. Tractors.
All tractors. John Deere. My whole house. John
Everything
Deere on
with
the windows.
wheels. Decky's like, car. I'm like, tractor. He's like, car. I'm like, truck. He's like, car. I'm like, okay. Everything's a car right now. It's fine. We'll get there.
Yeah. He's at the point where if you call it the wrong thing, he gets really upset. Like, I'll call it a tractor. He's like, that's a combine. I'm like, okay.
Sorry.
We don't live on a farm, so I don't know.
How do you even know this?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. He's very particular.
And now you have a 2-month-old, you said?
2-month-old, yes. 2 months just in a couple days. Yeah.
How's that
crazy.
transition?
You know, I was really anxious about Remy. It kind of felt like I'm cheating on Remy with like another baby. It really felt like that. And I was really worried about how he was going to feel, if he was going to be, you know, jealous, or if he was going to feel like he wasn't getting a lot of attention. And but I read like everything you could possibly read on introducing a new child or new baby, and it worked out really well. It was like we made sure that it was no pressure for him. Like we walked in, he was sitting in a neutral space. Mom or dad wasn't holding him. He was sitting in a chair.
Right.
And Remy walked in, and it was like the baby got you a gift. This is Ferris. He bought you a present.
Oh, that's so
and
sweet.
Yeah, just kind of like give him a little bit of even space. And so it was great. He loves him. He's like, he's my best friend. Why is he so cute? This is my baby brother. You know, we did a big thing where we call him our baby. So we're like, oh, Remy, this is our baby. And he's like, yeah, mommy, daddy, and Remy, our baby.
Aww.
So it's like really creating that family dynamic for him. And we didn't make a big thing about like, would you like to hold him? And if he didn't want to hold him, no biggie.
Right.
Like, do it all on your own terms.
Right.
We don't want him to ever feel like he's forced, because it's a lot having like, this is a new human. He's going to live with us forever.
And like Remy's still so young that it's like he probably can't even comprehend like, oh, now it's my mom and dad, but it's also this one's mom and dad.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, that's an interesting.
Yeah, and not ever blaming the baby was a big one too. So if we're busy, we're like, I'm busy. We don't say I'm feeding Ferris. We say like, oh, I'm busy doing something. You know, I'm going to be there in a second. You never say this because of the baby, or I can't come to you because Ferris needs to be changed. And a big thing that I do is I say to Ferris, because he's like a potato. He doesn't have, right? He doesn't know any better.
But it's still good to start.
Yeah, but I'll say to Ferris, like, Ferris, you have to wait 1 second. I have to go get this for Remy. Just so that Remy's like, oh, I'm being put first right now. So it's like little things, and it adds up. Now he's like, Ferris, my best friend. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did you have any like other moms that you'd like talk to get that 100%. Stuff, or like what did you read? Like send me everything, because like we're thinking, but like I'm like not ready yet. But it's also hard. Like I think the transition gives me anxiety from 1 to 2.
Yeah, you know, it gives me anxiety, but the same time, like, we're making him a best friend forever, you know? And it's
true.
like someone
it's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. This is going to be your person forever. You're going to have somebody that you can be with even when we're gone. You'll still have somebody.
Right.
So that was kind of a big thing, as morbid as that is. But I absolutely have other moms. I have, you know, a friend, she has 2 boys as well. And her youngest is the same age as my oldest. So now we have 4 boys between us. Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's chaos.
Yeah, it is
but
chaos,
fun.
but it's so much fun. It is. We just went to African Lion Safari.
So did we.
Oh God, isn't it amazing?
It's so fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
and so we went with all 4. We had like a double stroller, pull up in the minivan. We're like balling out. Yeah, it's
no shame,
right? No, I rock it. It was great. Yeah, I love her van. But you know, it's having somebody who knows ahead of time makes such a big difference, because it is terrifying. Having children is terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
However many.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure the transition from 4 to 10 is hard too. Like,
yeah. Then by the time you get 4, I hope the first one starts helping out.
True that. Yeah. My mother-in-law always said her 4th like raised itself because
that's good.
She kind of went through the other ones already.
Right? We've gotten a lot less like stressed out about it as well. With Remy, we made sure we read every book and everything was perfect. We had all of the, you know, the bottle warmer and everything you could possibly have. But this one we're like, nah,
he's fine.
He's fine. By the time he was born, the only thing I purchased for him was a book.
Stop.
Like, I think maybe we had newborn diapers that we had to go out and buy in the hospital, because it was like you just get a lot more relaxed with it, because you're like, you've already done it once. You're like, they're going to live. They're going to be fine. You're going to get through it.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that's like the hardest thing for you, do you think?
You know, I think going back to work is really tough, because there's a lot of guilt and you feel really bad, but at the same time, because you want to be there with them and you're like, you know, they need you so much, and it's trying to get back to work and trying to be who you are before you had kids, but yet still accepting who you are after you've had kids is really tough. Yeah.
And especially when I feel like when you get more than one, it's like now you're spread even thinner and your cup's even less full than it was, because you're like trying to give it to all of them. And then then you're going back to work, you said earlier before we started recording, like quick. Soon.
I went so I had Ferris very quickly. He was almost born in the car.
Did you not work
I did. I worked till 11 o'clock at night the day before he was born, and before I went to sleep, I'm like an idiot, I googled, will labor wake me up? Like, it obviously will.
I don't want to sleep through it and just wake up with a baby on the bed.
Will I sleep through it? Like, will I wake up in time? Yeah, like I googled that. Obviously, of course, like
that's
karma.
amazing.
I deserve to have. Yeah, so I woke up at 2 a.m. and it was like, something's happening. And then I woke up just at like 2:45, and I was like, I think I might be in labor. I was like, no, go back to sleep. And then at 3 o'clock, I was like, we need to leave now.
Stop.
Yeah, and then like full transition in the car, and then got to the hospital. He was born 7 minutes later. Yeah.
Dude.
It was almost, So I said to the midwife, I was like, are you lying to me that he's going to be born in 5 minutes? Because I can't do this, because I didn't have an epidural, which, you know, is like awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot.
And so she's like, I'm not lying to you. And then he was born like at 4:07. So she said to me, she's like, yeah, you came in at 4. And then 2 minutes after we were talking, and I said 5 minutes, and he was born at 4:07. So no, I didn't lie to you.
No, ma'am.
That's a good point. I deserve that. But yeah, I worked the night before, and he was born at 4 a.m. And at like 7 in the morning, I was answering some emails, and then I sent out a quote, and I was like, well, he's sleeping, and I was gonna ask Justin to get my laptop, because I was really lucky though. My recovery was amazing. Yeah.
The second time was better.
Yeah, no epidural. It was, at the time, I was really upset about it, because I really, really wanted that epidural.
Did you have it with your first one?
I did.
Oh my gosh, so
glorious.
You knew that.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It was the best. But I was like, I need an epidural, and there's like, not happening.
You're like, there is no time for this.
But the recovery was great, because I literally felt like I'd never had a baby and was never pregnant within hours. It was a little unreal. Yeah.
I think anyone who just heard that probably wants to punch you in the face a little bit, but it's fine.
I tell everyone
we're happy for you, though. We're happy for you, but we also hate you.
It's I'm very open to the fact that I have a privilege there of like not having a bad recovery, because if you have a C-section, that sounds awful, you know, days of being in the hospital, and then you get home and it's like 6 weeks, whereas
you can't lift stuff.
I felt very, very lucky to kind of jump back into it. And
but that doesn't mean like your body didn't go through a trauma. That doesn't mean your mind's not like, what the fuck?
Yeah, still postpartum. I mean, like I'm saying, I get like postpartum sweats. I'm always like hot because of being
oh my gosh. Is that a thing? Because I
feel like it is.
Literally get that still.
Yeah.
Like I'll be sitting there and I'll get just like overstimulated and I'm just like so hot. I'm so hot. And then Dustin's like, why are you freaking out? There's nothing going on. I'm like, I'm so hot.
Yeah.
But I'm a cold person. Like literally I'm like,
right?
just like,
no, I think it's a postpartum like a hormone fluctuation because I feel like I've never been so hot in my life. I mean, I know we're Canadians, but like I still. Yeah.
I mean, we're hot in other ways, but
yeah, right.
That's true too. So you have a different kind of transition to work because you literally, even the hospital, were like grabbing your laptop because you're an entrepreneur.
I am, yes. Yeah.
And tell everybody what kind of cool work you do.
Yeah, so I am self-employed and I'm an auctioneer. So I do the fast talking, as they say, is the first thing everyone asks. They're like, do you do the thing? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Of course I do the thing.
So I am an auctioneer. I do benefit and fundraising events and I sell cars every week. And I'm one of the very few females that are in the industry. So I think going through a pregnancy while being one of the only females, I am the only female auctioneer at the car auction that I work at, is a bit of an interesting position because there's no one else who has to be pregnant in auctioning. They just kind of show up and do their thing. And I didn't realize how hard it was being pregnant and auctioneering because it's a lot of vocal work and you're speaking, quite loudly on a microphone and you're speaking very quickly.
Right. And then your diaphragm's all pushed up.
And less and less and less. And I was like, oh, it wasn't that hard. And then I went back after being pregnant and I was like, oh my gosh, it really was hard. Like, I can't believe how much easier it is.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of shortness of breath too. Yeah. I'm sure and like obviously later on when you're a bit bigger, everything. Yeah,
I'm blessed with a larger rib cage, so I think that helped definitely.
I'm blessed with a larger rib cage.
It is. I didn't have rib pain. I know I'm really quite.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
you're perfect.
Quite lucky. I threw up
We're
a lot.
done.
Yeah.
You threw up a lot?
A lot. Yeah, I was.
Did you ever have to like run off stage to throw up?
I didn't, but I had before and after. Yes, it was controlled on stage. He behaved himself, but I had a condition called hyperemesis or hypomemesis.
Okay.
It's pronounced different ways, but basically you throw up from the beginning of the pregnancy right up until he came out.
Wow.
So that plus auctioneering, but yeah, you were mentioning the transition of working.
Yeah.
I think it's depends on what you do. It depends on how supportive your partner is.
Very true.
That's a big part of it as well. I'm really lucky that my husband he took 6 weeks off and was ready to jump in whenever I wasn't. And, Ferris, who's newborn, has slept on his side of the bed since he was born, which is a crazy thing for mom to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, he's just always been
so cute.
Ready to step in. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's really lucky because it's like, and my partner's really supportive too. And I've talked to other women and it's like, I can't even imagine either being a single mom.
Yeah.
Or being a mom, but also feeling like a single mom because their partner's like, for lack of a better word, useless.
Absolutely.
When it comes to that, know, like freaking superheroes.
Yeah.
With supportive partners, with not like it doesn't matter. I think all moms are superheroes, but I think that definitely adds another level of like, you're
100%.
insanely amazing. Like, how do you even function? I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Right?
I mean, you figure it out, but.
Yeah. And a lot of times people say like, oh, you're a superhero that you're going to work and you have 2 kids, or you take one to daycare, you work with the other, you do video calls, all that. But, I was raised by a single mom entrepreneur. So I think that helps as well. Like my mom's a writing teacher and has always been a writing teacher, supported us as a single mother.
Okay.
And she would teach with us right in the middle of the horse riding arena. And so it just seems like that's what you do. You have babies, you work, it's accepted.
That's cool that like you had that role model and it's like kind of passed down to you.
Yeah. And I think since COVID, it's become a lot more acceptable that you are a human and you have a life and you have kids or dogs or whatever it is, so that if you're having a video call and someone comes in the background, it's like, this is my cat, this is my kid, and people are just like, oh, that's the way that things are now, because COVID, we all went through 2 years at home.
For real. Yeah. And I think there wasn't a whole lot of good that came out of it, but I think like you're right, that is a really good thing that COVID humanized people. And like, as much as like you're still professional, it doesn't mean there isn't XYZ going on in the background. Absolutely. And I think that's cool that people are being a little bit more like graceful and like giving more leniency for that kind of stuff. Because it's like sometimes there's chaos going on, but we still got to do our job.
Usually there's chaos. And I think really for women, it really helped because women were really disproportionately affected by COVID, having to stay at home with the kids, having them not being in school. And it was a lot of times it fell on women to have to fill that role. And, so I think now that, especially for myself, I'm working and I have a newborn and, my husband's back to work now, that this is my baby. He's here for a video call and we just go from there. And it's like, that's just what happens. So I think that as I've really benefited from that acceptance from COVID.
Good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And also because you are self-employed and you're your own company, you didn't have government mat leave for a year.
Yeah.
So it's obviously you can't just take a year off and otherwise then you're not getting paid. And obviously now you have multiple kids to pay for and a life and a mortgage and all these other things. So do you feel that kind of pressure to go back early a little bit? Or is it more
I really like buying things. And it's maternity leave is fantastic. We're so lucky to live in a country where we have maternity leave and we're able to have that. But it just didn't fit for what I would like to do and for my lifestyle. I love my work. It's something that I wanted to really dive back into kind of immediately while balancing having a baby and giving him enough attention. But it's, for sure. Yeah, I'm really lucky that I have a job that I'm able to kind of jump back in and do that.
Yeah. And you bring him with you.
I do for the most part. Yeah. Other than on stage.
That's pretty cool.
Because I feel like that's
maybe pushing the line a little bit. But also you might get more bids. Right. Because he's so cute.
Yeah. I did an event for the YWCA, which is for a women's group. And there was, 600 people in the audience and I was 8.5 months pregnant. And they were like, it was the coolest thing because it was a room full of women supporting women and, being able to represent on stage. It was,
that's powerful.
Yeah, it is really powerful. And I think that, sometimes when you're pregnant and you're bigger and you're sore and everything, you don't want to get up on stage and you're standing and there's vocal work and you have to, maintain a brain capacity, which isn't always easy when you're
especially not at the end. Holy smokes.
Right? Yeah. So it's, but being able to do that kind of proved to myself that it's I felt like a superhero when you get off that stage. You're not only did I auction in front of 600 people raising, thousands of dollars, but I did it while making a human. It's wow, Wonder Woman. Yeah.
I'm glad that you felt that about yourself because I feel like every woman who has children or just women in general who are doing amazing things needs to feel that.
Absolutely.
Empowerment.
Absolutely.
Not oh, I'm pregnant, I can't do this, I can't do that. And it's obviously if there's issues and you're sick and whatever.
Yeah.
And even for my job as a nurse, I definitely had to go, I had a very big belly and I had to go off a little bit early because it was getting literally in the way.
Well, he's a big baby.
Oh, he was a huge baby.
Yeah.
And I it was pretty big. I asked all the time, is there twins in there?
Oh, love that question.
Thanks.
Don't ask women that.
No, never. No. I hate it anyways, all the body questions, but it's fine. But it was it was in the way, and it's just for my biggest thing is I'm so independent, especially at my job. I hate asking my coworkers for help because they're so busy. It's a crazy unit I work on. So it's I always need them to help me roll patients over or pick. I was I can't do this anymore. And I had very mixed emotions about it because I'm but I should be able to go longer because everyone else does. But then I remember one of my coworkers said to me you're not, no one's giving you a gold star. Mm-hmm. No one's looking at, no one knows how early you went off. Nobody cares. I'm so true. You need to take care of yourself. And if that means you feel good enough to go on stage and do all these things, that's amazing. Yeah. But it also means if you're not there, that's also okay. You're still a superhero for stopping when you feel like your body needs to stop.
And I don't know if you've heard, but they say that being pregnant is the equivalent of running a marathon for 40 weeks straight, energy-wise, and how much energy you're using. So it's you should feel like a superwoman because you're
growing a human.
Absolutely, being pregnant is really hard, and every time now that I have two, I'm I get one in the car, I get the other in the car. We go to daycare, I drop one off, and I'm yes. Accomplished.
Yeah.
That's all it takes for me to feel like a superhuman.
Well, I'm sure that's a lot.
It feels like a lot sometimes. Yeah.
I have friends that have double kids, two kids. And they take them to daycare and then it's they get one and the other one's already half naked and got their shoes off. And it's I just got you ready. And I see them struggling. And my one friend in particular has two girls similar to your ages. And she comes out of her day and she's whoa, where am I? What's going on? She's got a pencil in her hair.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I don't know what just happened, but
yeah, that was me last Thursday. I was like, it was the first time, which I'm pretty impressed about. Like, first time I've actually been like, I'm really tired. And we didn't do anything. It was just from having to parent. Yeah. It was like, I didn't have any, you know,
I find
work,
that the most
happening.
exhausting, to be honest.
I really was like, I'm really tired. Like, just from taking care of 2 humans for the day. It was really tough.
Well, and plus you're feeding with your body. So that takes a lot out of you as well, right?
Yeah. And time frame wise, you're like, okay, I have a 3-hour break. I'm going to shop, get some me time, do what I like, go back home, feed again, and then I get another 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the nice stage of newborns is like, they're not running around. They're not.
Oh my goodness.
And they don't have scheduled like nap times and whatever. They just like sleep and eat and poop and cry. And you're like, you know what? Now that I'm like, because for my first one, I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm a newborn mom. This is like a lot. But now that he's like transitioning to a toddler, I'm like, ooh, that was pretty fucking easy, I think.
Right? Everyone says like, oh, you're going to have your hands full. I'm like, with this cute sleeping full, but like not in the way that's just like going to eat and poop and be fine. And then I look at my 3-year-old who's swinging off and jumping off things and telling me no and being sassy. And
Was that a planned age gap?
Yes. Very much so. Very much so. I think that 3.5 years, it still seems like it's close together. But, you know, I could never do 2 under 2.
That's like a huge thing right now. A lot of my friends and like other moms that I know have done that and like power freaking to them.
Oh, absolutely.
And when we were first pregnant and we were like planning out our kids, me and my husband were both like, okay, like 2.5 years age gap. And now we're like, okay, maybe more like 3.5, maybe even 4. Like we're good. Yeah. But I feel like guilty about it. I don't know why. I'm like, because you're supposed to have them close together.
That's typical. It seems like it's typical. And I mean, they say that they're going to be closer and all these things. My husband and his brother are 3 years apart and they are closer than any siblings that I know. So it's, you know, I think it all depends on what's right for your family and what's right for you. You know, there's some people that have kids, you know, 15 months apart and they love that. Their kids are, you know, grow up together like as young kids together.
Basically twins almost.
For me, it's, you know, getting through the diapers, getting through having a toddler and a newborn. You know, Remy's still a toddler at 3.5, but he's an elder toddler. He's
for sure. He's a little bit more self-sufficient.
Yes, he knows when he's not supposed to do, and then he does it anyways, as opposed to not knowing what he's not supposed to do. Just it's like a bit easier because you can kind of control him a little bit. Yeah.
I'm glad actually this is good because I think the main thing that a lot of women I've talked to like on this podcast, the main kind of take home message from a lot of conversations is like you need to do what's best for you and your family. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that to like reiterate because it's like you see all these perfect families on social media and in life and like you don't always get the other side of wait, that's actually really difficult what they're doing. And it's difficult no matter what you do. Yeah. For sure. But I'm glad that, you did what was best for you. And like, it's good to keep that in your head of like, okay, I don't need to do what everyone else does.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because it looks like normal.
Yeah. You know, I'm older. I'm an older mom. You know, I say that being 35. But there's, you know, I know moms that are out there in their early 20s. I know moms that are out there in their 40s. And it's kind of whatever works for you. You know, but there's times that I'm like, oh, I wish I started earlier because I would have more. But, you know, I don't think I would have been in a position to have kids in my 20s. Like, absolutely not the most responsible Francis that there has been.
Preach.
So, you know, I think it's really... I'm so glad that I waited to be in a place where we own a house and we have stability and it's kind of more in my job where I'm more comfortable. So otherwise it would not have worked. So, you know, it's just whatever works for you, do it.
Exactly. Everyone's timeline is different.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have to do it when you're ready. Otherwise, it's not always the best for the kids, right?
Yes. I do envy young moms' energies though.
Yeah, touche.
Running down the soccer field, like no problem, where I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, literally, like there's a girl I went to high school with. She's like a year or two younger than me. She's on her 5th child.
Oh my goodness.
You are a superhuman. Yes. I could not I'm the same early 20s, not even close. I didn't even want kids in my early 20s. I was like dead set I was never going to have them.
Me too.
And you know, here we are. I have a mom podcast now. Right. Like who would have thought? But
Yeah.
Definitely do like when you're ready to do it.
People always say to me, they're like, oh, remember when you said you didn't want any kids? And I'm like, yes, because people evolve and change. So
it's okay that I changed my mind. Aren't you happy with my cute little beans?
Right. And that's the thing. It's okay to change your mind. You are able to not want kids and then want kids. It's, things change. I think it's...
Or opposite. Like if you thought you wanted kids your whole life and then you're kind of in a situation and your partner and they don't want them and you're like, you know what? Actually, I'm good without them.
Yeah.
Don't have them.
Do what works for you.
Literally, if you don't want kids, don't have kids.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think people who don't want kids should have kids.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Right. Yeah. But I want to kind of switch gears a little bit because I remember I think it was the second time, one of two times that we ever met. You were telling us a story about your oldest. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, you were pregnant at the time, so you hadn't had your youngest yet. And he was having... I can't remember the store, the exact situation, but I remember you saying like he was having a temper tantrum in the middle of the store, maybe Walmart, and you and your husband just kept having a conversation, kind of ignored what he was doing. He was literally laying on the floor. People were staring at you, and you're like, I don't really care. And you were like, hey, what are we gonna get next? Where are we going next? Blah blah blah. And you just like let it happen. I remember hearing it. And I was like, that's really cool because a lot of people get embarrassed in public or get triggered by, because my kids just kind of started into the last 2 months, and I was definitely at first, like the very first one, I was like, what is happening?
It's intense.
I literally moved your toy 2 inches. Why are you losing your mind? Like I was like, and then I'm getting triggered.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first one? Like,
were you
triggered at first?
Absolutely.
Or how did you kind of
come? There's been so many in between that, and some people say like, oh, I fixed it and they only had one tantrum because of the way that I handled it. I love how I handle tantrums, but that doesn't mean that there's less of them, and he definitely...
I think it's normal for toddlers to have multiple temper tantrums over like 3 or how many years.
And he's 3.5 now, so I feel like we're kind of getting to the end of the toddler era.
Yeah.
But there's... And again, you can read everything online, and there'll be contradicting stories from TikTok and Instagram and all these different moms that look like they have it, and I'm sure maybe they do have it all together, and they have their own way of doing it for their kids.
Yeah.
But I just kind of say to him, like, he will lay down in the store and freak out and scream, and then I just sit there and wait for him to be done. I don't take out my phone and let him know, like, I'm here for you. Yeah. If you need me, I want you to know that I love you and I'm here, but I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. When you're done, you let me know. And, it makes my father-in-law a bit crazy because he's like, you're feeding into it. And I'm like, no, I'm letting him, like, let it out. Like, go ahead. If you want to, like, when you feel better, when you're done, you get it out and you let me know when you're done.
Yeah.
And I think if you allow them to express themselves that way, like they figure out like, oh, I'm yelling on the floor and there's no reason for me to be doing this. My mom is
not going to get me what I want.
No, she is unaffected by what I'm doing. So then I'm just going to continue on my way. And I don't make a big deal about it after. I just say like, are you feeling better? He goes, yeah. And we just continue on like it never happened.
Okay.
We don't, I don't do a lot. We try to do gentle parenting where I try to, my own version of it, where you give them, I'm here to support you and I'm here to love you, but I'm also here to make sure you turn into a good human being.
Right.
So, that's kind of my number one goal is that you're raising kids, but you're also raising good adults. I always have in the back of my mind.
Yes,
right?
Totally. We feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I tell them, I'm like, you let it out. You be up as set as you want and we'll continue on after. I think there's a really good saying of you lend them your calm, where if you're like, I try to be as calm as possible. I'm an adult. I can regulate my emotions. He's a toddler. He cannot.
Right.
He physically does not have the brain development to be like, okay, I'm going to calm down. Whereas adults do.
Yes, or should.
Yeah, as they should. But, as a mom, it is extremely triggering because they say like, just having that maternal instinct of your own children makes your skin crawl when they are screaming and upset. Like it makes you so like something about it.
Physically, it's a physical response. I was just talking about this morning because of last night. We were having a really rough night. He was just like, just screaming, crying for 2 hours. And I'm like trying to give him tools to handle it himself, but also like letting him cry for a little while, not cry it out. Nobody yell at me, but like give him supportive crying. But it's like, and my husband's like, well, just like leave him for a little bit. I'm like, you don't understand. Like it, for women, it is such a physical, like I feel sick.
Yeah, it makes you feel sick.
Exactly, having that. So yeah, I totally know what you're saying.
Yeah, it really does. And that's a biological, survival tool for humans. It's normal that happens.
Yeah.
But understanding that, I think when it's happening, it's like, okay, take a breath. Think about something positive. You're fine. And then this is just what you just have to get through this, and so I always think of what works best for me when I'm upset. And if somebody looked at you and then you're crying, they say, stop crying. Does that make you want to calm down? You know, that doesn't help anyone.
Thanks. Yeah. I'll calm down right now. Thanks for that.
I feel great now. Yeah. You know, and things that seem so little and silly, like, you know, wearing one pair of shoes versus the other. And, you know, we have, you know, you're stressed out. You're trying to get down in the morning. You're trying to get out of the door. You got work to get to. You don't want to be late. You got all these pressures, things happening, bills to pay. And your kid is freaking out about what shoes to wear. And it's like, it's really easy to say, like, just put on shoes.
Right.
Just put on your shoes and let's get out of the house. But, you know, that might be in that moment for them. That is really important to them. Because they don't have the stress of bills and things because you've done such a good job at being a parent that you take on all those responsibilities. So it's, you know,
that is the big thing in the world.
That's their biggest thing. And if you know, I remember being a kid and people saying that's not important. And, you know, I don't know why you're so upset about this.
Yeah.
Because that's what is so important in that moment to them. So you recognizing that it's important to them and taking a minute to kind of regulate yourself and help them is, I think, so much more helpful than saying, you know, just put on your shoes or like get out of the house or stop crying.
Totally.
Even though in your head you're like, please stop crying.
Yeah. Please just put on your shoes.
Please just put on your shoes. Let's leave.
It's not that hard. But that's a good perspective to like keep in mind, where for them, like you said, like that's the biggest thing in that moment. They don't know you have to go, like they don't understand what work and bills and a mortgage is, or that you're on a time, like they don't know what a clock is. They're in their own freaking dimension of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like an important perspective to have. And I want to go back to like the regulating emotion too, because that's what I just watched a video not that long ago of like kids are not equipped with the tools to regulate their emotions. And it's like, yes, they're upset, and for adults we don't go from zero I'm upset to scream crying throwing myself on the floor. I shouldn't. Maybe once in a while, but you know how to take a breath and like assess the situation, whereas like they have no idea what they're feeling. They're just feeling it, and instantly like that's how they're trying to express to you something's wrong in their world.
Yeah. And it's like their life is ending. Totally. But those are still real feelings.
So real.
So that's how they feel. They feel like their life is like completely in shambles. And, you know, I think that recognizing that their feelings are valid. It's okay to feel like this.
Totally.
Now let's figure out how we can get past it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think in the middle of a tantrum, I always try to remember that there's no rationality in a toddler's mind in the middle of a tantrum.
Right.
They don't care what you say. They don't, you know, that's why, like I say, gentle parenting, I love it. But you know, in the middle of a tantrum, I'm not saying to him, I understand your feelings. I understand you're upset, because he doesn't care what I'm saying.
He doesn't hear you.
He doesn't hear me. He just knows that he is upset. That's the only thing he knows in that moment. So that's where I just wait. I wait for you to be done. And when you're ready to hear something logical, let me know. And we'll continue on our day, because right now you are not in a mind space where you can understand a single word that's coming out of my mouth. There's nothing I can say to help you. You just kind of got to get through this.
Yeah,
let it out. Let it out. Let me know when you're done.
Yeah. How did you come to that? Like, obviously, I'm sure your first one, you weren't like... Probably couldn't say exactly what you just said today. You know, the first time he kind of freaked out. Yeah.
I was a really difficult child. So I think that I felt my emotions very strongly as a kid. So I think I still, you know, remember feeling like things were unfair when I was a kid, right? You know that feeling like things are just, you just don't feel like things are going fair.
And then the adult's like, life's not fair. And you're like, I don't know what that means.
Really unhelpful.
Yes, very unhelpful.
Thank you. That made me jaded.
That makes me really sad, actually.
Yeah. Now I'm depressed. That's great.
So nothing's going to get better. Why am I here?
Forever. There's nothing you can do. Life's just not fair. So that's not what I want to teach Remy, you know, and Ferris when he gets there. But I really remembered feeling like that as a kid, and I looked at him and it was like, I want you to know, like, hey, I hear you, bud. I you know, let me know when you're finished, because you can try to talk to them and they're in the middle of a screaming fit. They don't hear a word you're saying. So just trying to get them through that, and like, how can I love and support you through this? I always let them know that, like, I love you and I support you, and try not to lose my temper and be calm, even though
hard.
It is very hard. That was probably the hardest part I found about parenting is but once you figure it out, like once you're able to lend them your calm, and once you kind of, that little switch goes off for you, it's so much easier, because you realize that like what they're saying, it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Their tantrum has nothing to do, even if it's something that you took away, it has nothing to do with you. It's that they cannot handle the amount of feelings and emotion in their brain because they don't have the brain development.
Right.
So once I realized that, it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to take it personally.
Right.
You know?
I can't get mad at you for expressing your emotions.
Yeah. You literally don't have the brain capacity to come back from this as quickly
as I do.
And
they're so one-track mind. So if like they're focused on a toy and like that's all they're seeing, because all like kids have is tunnel vision, and then you move it, then it's like that was their entire world in that moment. And then it's just like everything's crumbling.
Absolutely.
And then they just lose it. Yeah.
And people always end up looking at me, and there's definitely like, I could see where people feel really embarrassed by it, because people will try to help you, and it never helps in the grocery store when they're like, they try to say like, oh, what's happened, mom? And you're like, just keep walking, please, just keep walking.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like someone once came up to me, they're like, oh, does mom not want you to have that? And I was like, I'm trying to parent here. I'm like just keeping it together so much, and with my kid I can balance and regulate my emotions, but with people and humans that are adults, I'm like, well, you need to get away. Yeah, right? You need to leave me alone. So, you know, it's because you're an adult who can regulate your emotions. So please don't bother me in this moment. I'm, you know, keeping it together by this much.
Also, you don't know me. You don't know my kid.
Right.
You don't know that we do this and we can get through it, and this is how I handle it. And from an outsider, okay, maybe it looks like, if you're just saying that, maybe it looks like you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
If they're just walking by.
Oh, absolutely.
So you can understand that. But at the same time, I agree. It's like, you have no place to step in here. You have no place to make a comment. You're not helping. You're not making the situation better. You're just going to piss me off. And now I don't like you. So
yeah. And now it's making it harder for me to be calm. So it's, you know, and
yes, because you're triggering me. My kid's not triggering me, but now you are.
Yeah. And I need to, for his sake, so that we can learn to, because it's every time they're learning a bit more of how to be less upset and how to get through it, you know. And I think Remy's definitely had a hard time with that, but what 3-year-old, 2-year-old doesn't. So yeah.
Exactly. I think what would be advice to moms that are like kind of in the thick of the tantrums, especially in public settings? Because I think at home it's like, it's annoying, but you don't have that shame and embarrassment or like fear of judgment. How do you kind of cope with that in public settings? Because it's wild. Because before I was a mom and I'd see tantrums going on in public, I'm like, you can't. I'll admit I have passed judgment where I'm like, you don't have control over your children. Like, oh my God. And now I'm starting to enter into that phase. And I also have friends in that phase where I know they're good kids and I know they're good moms. And like, it happens. And I'm like, oh, like this is normal. Everybody goes through this. There is no perfect kid. No. There is no kid that's not going to freak out when you say, no, you can't have those Play-Doh blocks or whatever the heck.
The cars that are always at their level, like,
and are like $30. Yeah. I'm not paying for that, but they don't understand that. Yeah, they just see the car. Yeah, so it's like, I'm sure I'm going to enter into it. So it's like, give me something. I need help.
You know, and no matter what, it's going to be hard. Like that's there's no way around it. Having kids in every stage, there's always going to be something different that's hard. Yeah, but you know,
like judgment and
absolutely. And for me, it's knowing that, you know, when you're in public and to not get embarrassed, it has nothing to do with anybody else. Yeah. And I'm not here for everybody else. I'm here for Remy, and I'm here to make sure that he feels supported and for him to learn how to regulate his emotions and how to move on. It's not anybody else. So you go ahead, like, you know, other people. And it's like, a lot of times I get people like moms being like, kudos. Like, I saw you in that tantrum. You're going through the thick of it. And, you know, moms are here to support each other. And they're like, you know, you did a good job on that.
I love people and moms like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's like, okay, I've been there.
Right?
You got
this. It's helpful. It is helpful. But yeah, just really try, like I said, lend them your calm. Try to be even if on the inside you're like trying to, you know, keep it all together. Yeah. You try to give them a little bit of your calm, and speak in a calm voice. Really try to take a second, even if you have to, like, if you have a partner with you, walk away for a second and come back. My husband and I do that quite frequently, whereas I'll get to my edge and he'll step in with his calm. He'll get to his edge and I'll step in and I'll be like, what are you doing? It's fine. So, you know, if you can do that, then absolutely.
Then take that breather.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
What's your best advice, I guess, when you do get triggered? I guess you kind of just said, like, taking that breath. I'm sure you've had moments where
absolutely,
you're not perfect in those. I'm really working on it, because it's just like, I'm like getting into that thick of that, and I'm reminding myself, like, okay, this is how he deals with it. And we're doing the for him, I'm like, hey, smell the flowers. No. Okay, blow the bubbles.
Yes.
And like, then he'll start to calm down, but then he can get worked up again. And it's like, I was talking to someone the other day about this, and they're like, oh yeah, that's great for kids. I'm like, that's great for anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I struggle with anxiety, and I can get myself worked up, and I have to take those breaths. So like, in those moments, I do my best to show him as well, like, you're triggering mommy right now, but I'm going to take a breath. Like, and have him show that I'm trying to regulate with him, but I still, like, I'll freak out sometimes, and I hate it.
And you feel so bad after.
I feel so bad, but it's just, you just go from like, when they go from 0 to 100, and if you're like tired or you're, especially if I haven't eaten
overstimulated
yet, or overstimulated, I'm just like, just stop.
Yes. And I let them know. I'll say to Remy, I'll say, I'm getting really frustrated right now.
Yes.
I'm getting really frustrated right now, and I need a minute. And I say that, and he kind of, I think you can hear my tone that he'll be like, "Oh, I pushed it too far with Mom." But you know, I want him to see like, we get frustrated too. Yeah. People get frustrated. I'm very frustrated right now, and I need a minute. So that when he gets frustrated, he can see that. And I think, you know, a lot of times we hold toddlers, especially, to a higher standard than we hold ourselves, where we expect them to sit there and never make noise and never be upset and never cry. And if they cry, we say, stop crying. And, you know, like as if they're not allowed to be upset. Yeah. You know, and like people, humans, like moms and dads, and we all get just as frustrated with kids as they get. So it's, you know, everyone, it's going to happen. We're human. Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess, giving that verbal, like, explanation of like, this is what Mommy's feeling right now too. And not just showing all the emotions that humans can go through, but how to deal with it, like you said.
100%. And you know, things like I have 100% lost my temper, and you know, I'm blessed that I've handled it in a good way that I feel good about. But I definitely still feel like there's times where I'm like, I need a second. Like I just, for myself, like it's usually when I'm changing him and the wet wipe won't come out of the package. And like, for me, I don't know what it is, but I can't have like, I'm changing a poop and you're up there and you're yelling at me, and I'm trying to work and the last wet wipe won't come out. It's like, I need it. Yeah. Like for me, that's when I'm like at my worst. Do not come at me.
That's hilarious. But it's like, it's not the wet wipe. It's the camel. What is it?
The straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That last thing that you're like,
yeah,
I can just picture it.
I just need it, right? Or like I trip over something and like that's it. Like everything in the house is then thrown in the garbage because I'm just too overstimulated and can't handle it.
100%. And then it's trying to catch yourself right before you go off the edge where you're just like,
and that's what it is. That's honestly. Being like, take a breath.
Okay, I need to step away for a second, put them in a safe spot. I've had to do that.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just losing it, I'm like, you're going to just go in your crib for a second. I'm just going to walk on the other side of the door and take a breath because you're starting to really irritate me.
Yeah. And I think, you know, for myself, like I'm very much so aware that they're only little for so long. And so sometimes when I'm in like the heat of the moment and I'm about to lose my mind, I'm like, you know what? He's only 3 for so long. One day I'm going to wake up and I'll be 50 years old or 60 years old, and there won't be any little feet in my house, and I know it's so heartbreaking, right?
I'm like, don't make me cry.
Right? There's no little feet, and there's no one's going to be, you know, crying for something, and they're not going to call you for their problems, and you know, you're their world, you're the person who's there to take care of them, and I think that helps me because I know that it makes me so sad because I'm going to miss them so much, but you're their whole world, you're the solution, and sometimes the cause of all of their problems.
Sometimes. But that does put into perspective those moments where it's like, is this worth getting super worked up about? Yeah. Is this moment, do I need to take away this moment of like soaking in my kids being angry and worked up and like having it drawn out more than it probably needs to? Yeah. I think that's a good way to look at it and a good perspective too.
Right.
Not to be morbid or it's like, no, but it's sad, true. but it is true.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe, everyone always said like, when you have kids, time flies so fast. I'm like, yeah, for sure. And then you have kids and you're like, holy shit, time flies so fast. And you're like, I'm saying that thing that I was like annoyed about.
100%.
But it's so true. Right? It's insane. I'm like, I can't believe I go back to work tomorrow. I cannot believe I've been off for 1.5 years. That's insane to me.
It flew by, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But also feels like I'm meant to just do this forever. It has you rethinking everything, becoming a mom and like getting into the thick of like, do I want to do this career? Do I want to be a stay-at-home mom? What am I doing? Where am I going? Like, who am I?
Yeah, and I feel like I've been doing it forever. Even though before I had kids, I was so not a kid person.
Same.
Now I'm like, even Ferris, he's 2 months old, and I was like, I feel like you've always been here. Like, you've always been hanging out with you. And it's been, I can't believe it's been 2 months, though. It's been so quick.
You're like, was it not yesterday?
Yeah, I feel like I just got pregnant.
Yeah.
And he's literally here.
Oh, my God. What's your favorite thing about being a mom?
You know what? I just love the kids. I love them so much. They're just like, they're my favorite people in the world. I would say I had to make my favorite humans.
Because I didn't like anyone else.
Yeah, right? I didn't like anyone else except for their dad. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's there.
But I just love them. Like, I just love being every part of it. Like, I mean, there's, tantrums and that kind of thing. But even that, I still love it. Like, I still love being in the thick of it. Yeah, I think I'm really going to miss them being so small. Like once they hit 5, they go to school, and then that's they're off. Go live life, like
which is like what I've trained you for, but also like just need me forever.
Right? Just you're never leaving. Both of my kids are going to stay at home till they're 40.
Right?
They're stay at home till you're 40.
You hear that? You watch this in 20 years?
Yeah,
you better be at home.
Better be at home. Yeah, but it's
totally like motherhood is like the most contradicting back and forth. Like I put my poem out last week literally about that.
Beautiful. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. But it just is so true, because it's like you want them to experience everything and be independent and live on their own and like be so strong, but then it's also like, but you don't need me anymore. Like that's going to be such a weird, sad but bittersweet feeling. And I had my mother-in-law on the other day, and obviously her kids are like all 20 or older, so she's in that phase where she's like, well, now you're just on your own.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of nice having an empty nest for the most part,
right?
But also like, what?
Yeah, there's a party, and it's like, I think we become different people through the stages of motherhood. Like you're a newborn mom, you're a toddler mom, you're like a teenager mom, which I think is going to be the hardest, and then you're an empty nester mom. So I think each one requires you to be a different person in a way.
Totally.
Yeah,
you're always growing. Like it's impossible not to, I feel like.
Yeah,
and becoming different versions of yourself.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny, the second one, like we've been so much more relaxed about it, and it's like I can see how people have like 5 kids, and by the 5th one you're like, whatever, you're fine. Because like
jump off the cliff,
right? With Remy, we were so on edge about everything. Like, what are you eating? What are you doing? What are you being exposed to? Whereas the second one, he's like, Remy is screaming in the background, dogs are barking, and he's just like staring at me like, what is happening?
How's your? I guess you're only 2 months in, but it's still that's like the thick of it. Is your postpartum? Do you feel like the same, better, worse?
I feel great.
Good.
I feel so good.
Good.
I feel like there's no better part than postpartum, honestly. And that's from my own experience. There's so many people that have different experiences.
Absolutely.
I find pregnancy really, really tough.
Okay.
Pregnancy was really, really hard for myself, just because you're not, you're big and you're uncomfortable and it's hard and you're nauseous and all that.
Yeah.
And I had a really good birth. So he came out and I was like, let's run a marathon. I felt amazing, and I still feel amazing. It's like I'm so happy that he's on the other side. I can cuddle with him, and I can see him, and I can look at him, and he's so cute, and someone else can hold him, and I can go get my nails done. Like I love that like,
for you, seriously. And I'm glad you're not, like, you shouldn't be ashamed to say that.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel bad for feeling good.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because there is such a stigma, like, oh, you're supposed to have the blues, and a lot of women do. Obviously,
absolutely,
we all struggle in different ways with different things.
And it's not something you can help. There's hormones that you go through, right? So it's like, it is a physical transformation for so many, and I think that a lot of people really struggle with that, and they deserve and need help,
Absolutely.
That's 100%.
And recognition and just a safe space to know, like, that's okay.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's okay to feel good. It's okay to not feel good. It's okay to however you feel.
I am very lucky that I feel
I'm
amazing.
so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Literally, that makes me feel so good.
Yeah. No, we went to a conference for an auctioneer competition, because they have competitive auctioneering. And so just about 2 weeks ago, we drove down to Pittsburgh with 2 kids, and he was 6 weeks old. Yeah. So I was doing interviews with little 6-week-old, and they were filming a documentary. So it was a lot happening. And I was great with it. I was like, I have this covered. I'm a super mom. And then I realized I had to pack for my husband, who can't dress himself, and 2 kids, and myself for like business wear after postpartum. So I mean, like the body image is probably the hardest, because it's like my suit jackets don't quite fit and my pants don't quite go there. That's tough, because
that is tough,
right? Going back to feeling like yourself, but doing that in a business setting was a bit hard, because you needed to prepare for like a week of clothes and being on, right? And then I was like,
where you're used to just buns, sweatpants.
I've been wearing Lululemons for a year. My feet have forgotten how to wear heels, so it's
I'm so glad I don't have to do that,
right? So that part, jumping back in, was a bit tough, but you also feel like you're doing it with your own little army, because I've got my kids and my husband, right? It was like my entourage.
You feel like you got your posse now. Like you're like it. You're like the star.
I made most of them, but yes, exactly.
Well, hello, that's what they're for.
Right? Yeah. Ever since Ferris has been born, Remy has decided that I'm his best friend. Before, I was never his best friend. It was his dad was his best friend. Our dog was his best friend, or school friends.
Not mom.
Never mom. But now it's only me. So he's decided that I'm his best friend, and I'm soaking it every second of it, right?
Absolutely. Oh,
Take
yeah.
all the love.
Oh, my gosh. I like... when Duckling goes through like a dad phase, I'm like, this is a great break, but then I'm like, also like, rude, I birthed you and you don't like me more than you like him, like, hello. And then he'll come back to me and like, I'm like,
he looks like you though.
You think?
I think so.
I get my husband all the time.
Really? You know, it doesn't matter who, they always say that. It's just, they're always like,
because they're boys and a boy. Yeah.
But I think he looks like you.
I'll take that.
100%.
He's pretty freaking cute.
Yeah. So. Except for the curls.
Yeah. I don't know where the...
Yeah,
long,
and Dustin's not curly either, is he?
No. My mom's family's kind of curly sometimes, so we're like, maybe, but...
Yeah, he's so cute. I love it.
I love little Pete. Kids they're good. Even through all the hardships, you're like, you know what? I would do it again.
I really
would do it times 10.
I really would.
If I got this out of it.
Yeah. I didn't... That was the most surprising thing. I didn't think I was going to love motherhood as much as I do, because you hear all these negatives. Actually, you know, you hear everyone being like, you're exhausted and you're tired and your boobs hurt and like all these different things are happening.
That's all true.
It is true. It is true. But you're so like, for myself, I'm so in love with my kids that it's just like I would. This is the best. This is like my favorite.
This pain is amazing.
Absolutely, it's my favorite part of my life. The part that I'm in right now. And so, you know, I have to always remind myself of that this is like, I'm gonna miss this because I love it. Hopefully, there's more better things coming on the horizon too. But it's, you know, I love this part of where I am right now more than anything I've ever gone through. So it's tough and it's tiring, but they're so cute.
It's the good old days. Funny. There's that, I don't know if you know the singer Ron Pope. Mm-hmm. He has a song, I literally can't even listen to it without crying. It's called, I think it's called Good Old Days. And basically he's just like, what's happening right now is the good old days we're going to look back on, and like soon there's not going to be this messy house and all that. So it's just like, let that stuff go, enjoy it, and just be in the moment. Yeah. And I'm like, true. Right? It's like you do have to like really soak it in because like you said before, it doesn't last forever. So
this morning I was supposed to be cleaning my house and I was feeding Ferris and he fell asleep on me, and I was like, I guess I'm just gonna sit here and sleep. So when you wanted to start a bit later, it was perfect because I was like, I guess I'm just gonna cuddle with my newborn and my infant now for, you know, an hour. Yeah, just suck it all in. And even if your house is messy or stuff has to get done, that's the part that is the best. It really is.
Yeah. And like just that was a big one for me, is like letting go of like the floors and the mess. Yes. And the dog hair still gets me because it dries.
2 dogs too, right?
Yeah, we have 2 dogs. So I'm like, I'm a vacuuming freak, but like for toys everywhere, sometimes I look at it, I'm like, nope. And I just like go sit down. Yeah. Like they're going to get messy again anyways. Like who 100%. Cares? Yeah. No one else is here anyways.
Like how in the grand scheme of things, how much does this really matter?
Exactly.
How much does it really matter that this, you know, that there's toys everywhere, that there's things, or that you have to do the dishes twice in a day, or there's, you know, other things happening? Is it really, in 10 years, are you really going to remember this moment? Or are you going to remember the little smiles and laughs and feet in your face and
fingerprints on the fridge? Like who cares? Yes.
Oh. All over. Dog prints on the doors,
the nose, like on the window.
I have a nose print and then a hand print right beside it. But you know, it's funny because
so cute though.
You love it, and it's like Remy had
it's gross, but I love it.
It's so gross. I just bought it like a little Lululemon belt bag that everyone has, and it was like, I just bought it, and he had oranges. So he had sticky orange juice all over his hands, and he put the most perfect handprint on my like Lululemon. And at first I was like, no. And then after I was like, it's so sweet. So I like kept this gross orange juice handprint on my purse for like 2 weeks. And it's,
that's amazing.
Yeah. But I was like, I love this. So kids make you crazy.
Yes, they do. And I'm like, my big thing now is like, cause he'll use a spoon for like 2 bites, and then it's his hands, and then they're all over my clothes, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Yeah. And I'm like really letting things go now, because it's like, because the newborn phase went so quickly, and I was like, oh, maybe I didn't soak in exactly what I should have in some aspects. I'm loving the little messes, and he threw something, and oh my gosh, the best aim. Yesterday I had some friends over, and he just threw a ball on the table, hit my water glass perfectly, dumped it all over. Oh no. And you know what? I was like, It's just water.
I'm not even mad. I'm kind of impressed.
Yeah. Literally, we're all like, the aim this kid has is insane. He could not have done that twice. It was like, boom.
Oh, no.
Nothing broke.
Yeah.
Nothing bad happened. It was just water on the floor.
Yeah.
Who cares?
It happens.
And I was like, Declan, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just water.
The kid will do it, and I'll be like, it's fine. The dog will do it. I'll be like, no.
Literally. No. Poor dogs.
Yeah, I know.
You try, but like they do kind of take a little bit of a backseat, and that makes me sad.
It's tough. I always was like, my dog's my baby, and like he still is.
Yeah,
but he's less of my baby. Like
because they're more self-sufficient than babies.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like I have to ignore you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to focus on this because this is gonna jump off the back of the couch and crack his head open, whereas you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So.
And with our first, it was like we tried, like with Hudson, our dog, we tried really hard to like get him to like introduce him really properly, and we had like a lot of work introducing the dog and the baby because we want them to get along.
Yeah.
The second one, we didn't take that time because we just had we were thinking about Remy and we were thinking about everything, and he came so quick. It was a bit of a surprise. Like we didn't even have a hospital bag or anything. We had to go buy diapers in the hospital because we had none.
Right.
But we came home and Hudson was like perfect with it. He couldn't care less about the baby. So like now I'm trying to give him extra time where I'll be like, you're a good boy, Hudson. Like I just give him little extra bits of love and his little tail wags, and you can see that he's done so much better this time because he's like, your house is chaos now. He's used to it.
I'm used to a 3-year-old pulling my tail.
Yeah. Compared to a 3-year-old, a little potato sitting there is not
pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. I suck up every minute of it.
For real. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're doing great.
Yeah.
We'll do our rapid fire mom questions.
Okay, sure.
That I do to kind of wrap up every episode. So the first M is, what has been your most memorable moment as a mom so far? If you can pick one.
You know what? This one is not, it's not a happy moment.
It doesn't have to be. It's okay.
But Remy went through a medical emergency where he had a febrile seizure. So usually like a fever seizure is like not a big thing, but his was, and he was intubated, and he was, it was like a 45-minute seizure that he couldn't stop it. And
oh my God.
it was awful. It was horrible. It was awful. My husband and I both, seeing my husband go through that was awful. Seeing Remy go through that was awful.
Yeah.
But
I couldn't even imagine.
Since then, there's not a lot that bothers us. It's like, if you're not, that really changed the landscape of our parenting, because little things suddenly like didn't matter. Like you're not having
it puts everything else into perspective.
Absolutely. So it wasn't, it's not a happy moment, but it definitely changed who I am as a human, because it was just so awful.
Yeah. Because you've seen the other side of life, how things can take such a serious turn. Oh my gosh, that'd be so scary.
I felt like the most mom moment was in that moment, because it was just it was nauseating how awful it was. It was like that.
It was like you're going through it, and you just wish you could put that on yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, I wish I was having the seizure and not you.
100%.
I would do
100%.
it times 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Sick kids, NICU, not where you want to be. It was like,
God, dude.
Well, pick you. Yeah. It was terrible. But you get through it, right? And so
and
now things happen. I'm like, nah. It's fine. You hit your head a little bit. You good? You're good.
You're not dying? All right, cool. Let's move on. I feel like I can't even imagine going through that. And I'm grateful.
No one can. You can't until you're doing it. No. And then somehow you just do get through it. It's
and
like,
thank God you guys came out the other side. And he's
absolutely.
Like, okay, and everything.
100%. He was, intubated for about 40 hours. And then he woke up and he asked for water, and we were like, thank goodness, because at least he can speak. He's fine. He's capable, and it was just...
do they know?
It was just from a fever.
Really?
It was from a fever. Some
and
kids
his
get
body
it.
just...
But how do you keep a kid from having a fever? So for a year, we didn't go to parties. We didn't go to daycare. We didn't go anywhere. We just stayed at home.
You're like, if he gets sick...
Quarantined. Because it's a fever. Kids gets a fever. But it was a defining moment
for sure
for us in both of our parenting. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And I actually really respect how you guys are now, like, you could look at it and you could be like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Obviously, of course it is. But you also have the mindset to take that experience and see the silver lining and shift the way that you think and live to better everything else because of it.
Yeah, not a lot phases us
really
anymore.
Cool.
We're like, and I think that helps me be calm in a lot of situations because it's just like that was the worst. Watching your child be intubated really with a feeding tube that was the worst moment in my life. But again, it really defined me as a parent because if we can handle that situation, and my husband and I, it's really hard to lean on your partner in that situation because you're not get upset with each other, not get short with each other because you're both going through the worst day of your life at the same time. So the fact that we were still able to support each other through that, it's like, all right, we're good. We got this. Like whatever they throw at us, we can handle.
Yeah. Our families are fucking rock solid.
Yeah.
Team, and it's like that's amazing.
Yeah, leaving the hospital we have a picture of us all leaving the hospital. And we were like, like it was going to battle, right? Yeah,
heart. Avengers assemble. Yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh, wow. Okay, so O is, what was an opinion that you had before you became a mom that completely changed after you became a mom?
Oh, so many.
Yeah. For real.
So many opinions before children.
For real. You think you know everything before you.
I just didn't realize that how much patience parents have. I was like, well, just get it together. Just leave the house. Like, how hard can it be? Just get your stuff together and leave the house. When, now I'm like, okay, water bottles, diapers, wipes, pants, shirts, extra clothes in case something happens. And it's just like the amount of mental capabilities you need additionally, mental capacity
just to go for a walk.
Oh, it's a lot. So before kids, I was like, good one. You just go. But now I see parents
pick them up and leave. Yeah,
they're in Walmart and there's two of them. I'm like, man, you're doing it
today. That took you 45 minutes to get in the car. I'm proud of you.
Good. You are in Walmart by yourself with two kids. Mom, you're doing it well. So that's a
good one. I like that one.
Yeah.
So true too.
Right.
And then our last M is, what is the most annoying thing each of your kids does in the current phase they're in?
Oh, again, so much. So relatable. We just hit the Y phase.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, and I'm not excited for that.
I didn't realize it was like a phase that everyone goes through.
You hear about it.
I was like, my kid's not going to go through the Y phase. He's going to be fine. He knows quite a bit. He doesn't know anything. He asked me why about literally everything. Like why his fair is so cute. I'm like, because I made him.
Yeah.
That's why he's so cute. But why? Why is the sun out? Why are the clouds there? And it's like,
I don't know.
Yeah. In the inside, you're like, oh my God, like, can we please just move on from what you're like, I don't know. It's a sun, kid. It comes out every day. But then you remember that they're kids and everything is like, there's this wonder about everything that they do.
New.
Everything. So I try to be like, oh, well, the sun is awake and the clouds are its blanket. So maybe it's, it's feeling a little cold. It needs a blanket. He's like, that makes sense. Like, yeah. That's right. Does. I know everything. Yeah, right. And then you get to the end of the why because he's asked you like so many whys.
You're like, I got nothing left.
And you're like, I don't have any more answers for you. That's it.
I just explained it.
And he's like, oh, okay. Like, he accepts that. He's like, all right. I got to the end of it. I understand now.
Because you answered a few, so you're
been
like
20 minutes of, but why? So that's for sure probably the most annoying thing. And
I had another mom on here, and her daughter's 4, and she was like, the Ys. We're in the Y phase, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah,
I can wait for that.
You know what? But I gotta say, it's again, there's something fun about everything because then you can make stories, right? And you can really see their imagination like just explode.
Yeah,
like little things that seeing it on their perspective. And I ask him why. I'm like, well, why do you think it does that? And to watch him try and figure things out and him to make stories now, like he now has a story about that he says all the time that he's going to go on a plane to go to work and that I'm not allowed. It's just Tilly, who's my dog, is his best friend, is going to go to work. And I was like, where did you get this? Well, it's a yellow airplane, Mummy. I'm like, what? Like, where? Okay. Sure. What do you do for a living? Like, kid, like, tell me all about it. So it's, as much amazing. As you can be annoyed by it, there's so many cool things that you're learning about, like they don't know. And I asked them, I turn it around on him, well, why do you think that why does the zebra have stripes? Why does it, yeah. Just get his little brain going.
There was one day we had a family dinner. My niece, she was 5, she had this flaky, like the chocolate, just the chocolate ones, the flake or whatever it's called.
I would never give that to a child because they're so messy.
Gosh, it was so crumbly. And I was like, why is that so crumbly? And she goes, maybe not enough flour? Or no, maybe too much flour?
Yeah.
I was like, no, but like that was really thoughtful.
Yeah.
Like, Good try.
Because they figure out
like you're so
lot.
Smart.
Yeah. How did you know
that? She had an answer like maybe just too much flour.
Yeah. And I honestly love that. Like three's tough, but I think it's also one of the best ages because he's just so funny. Like it cracks me up all the time. Some of the things
they say.
Oh, like I like to give him options, but I don't say no. I like to be like, do you want me to tuck you in or do you want you to tuck you in? And he'll say, I want to get out of bed. I say, that's not an option. Which one would you like? Pick one. So that's how I kind of get
I've
around.
heard that's a good way to go about
really
like, do you want the blue t-shirt or the t-shirt or the red t-shirt? I don't want to get dressed. No. Which t-shirt do you want?
Which one do you want?
Then they have some autonomy and
they can pick and they can choose. And I thought it was great. And then I was in bed sleeping because I have a newborn.
Yeah.
He's like, Mommy, get out of bed. And I'm like, no. He's like, no, that's not an option. Excuse me. And he shakes his finger all the time. No, not an option. No, sir. So it's like, where did you get this from? And now that he's in preschool, he comes up with all these weird things. He's learning stuff. Oh, the stories that comes out. There's octopuses apparently all over my house, and he'll pick them up and throw them down the stairs. Nice. There's no octopus, but it's adorable because he's like, go see your mama, octopus. Like, what? Where did you get this from?
That's hilarious.
It's funny.
I can't wait for that. I'm going to dive right into these stories. I'm so excited.
Right?
That's amazing.
I just die laughing. Like, it's so funny. It makes up for all the tantrums and everything. Yeah.
It's good for the soul to laugh. Yes. I bet you Ferris probably doesn't have anything annoying yet.
No, he's just a perfect little potato baby.
That's fair. You don't have to say anything.
He's 2 months. He's too big. He grows. That's the annoying thing that he's doing. He's getting bigger.
We'll take that. Stop growing.
Very annoying.
I wish I had like a freeze ray like in all those movies. Now I'm imagination.
Yeah. I try to stare at him so that I can be like, just freeze this moment.
Put it in my mind forever.
But it doesn't happen. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Great.
Well,
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, so much fun. Let's just do this all the time.
Okay. We'll have you back for round 2 when you have 2 more kids.
Right? Sure.
Well, mom friends, thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Mwah. Disclaimer. In no way do the conversations on this podcast replace the advice of health professionals. We are just speaking from our own experiences and what has worked for us. So speak to your midwives, OBs, or family doctors when necessary. When listening, always remember that every mom and every child is different, and what may work for one person might not work for another. There is no one way is the right way when it comes to parenting. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Mom Friends. Please like and subscribe to us so we can grow our beautiful motherhood community together. Talk soon. Mwah.